this is Rebecca from Papeterie de Choix, and welcome to an edition of In the Studio. Today I'm going to be showing you how I deconstruct clothing, and we're going to do a couple of pieces just to show you how I do it. I have a couple of examples here of what I have in my shop. These four are fabric. This was a skirt that I got at a thrift store, and each piece is 8 inches at the top, 18 inches at the bottom, and 24 inches long. So there's quite a substantial piece of fabric in there, and this is just absolutely gorgeous. It looks like it ought to be paper, but it's cotton. And then this was a little vest. It was either a large child's vest or a small junior. I'm not sure which it was. These two were the back and these were the front. And this one, you can see here that the design is very much a like a honeycomb. I was trying to say beeswax. I was in the right frame of mind, at least. So the back has this, and then it has this really pretty fringe that you can see coming down off of the bottom. And then this one, it has these kind of curly, almost paisley type designs with some leaves, and then it has these circles. The vest was, this is an outside or the centerpiece of where it opens, and it had this curve of these little circles, little swirly things. And then there's a little tiny piece of the honeycomb in there as well. So I just showed you these to give you an idea of what I do and how I do it. And of course, once I get it cut, if it's something I'm going to sell, then I package it, and I have these, I think they're 4x9. This is food grade packaging, and then I use my file folders and double them over, staple them at the top, and with my little stamp, just stamp on it fabric lace. And I do have some trim as well. I've got a whole suitcase over here full of stuff. So what I'm going to do is show you a couple of examples. Now this is a blouse that I got not that long ago, within the last month. There's very little wrong with the blouse. It's something that it's not my style, but if I were to wear it, it's not something that I would not wear if it was my style. If that makes sense. But the back of it's got a few picked places. The fabric, you can see, is very thin, and it's a polyester blend, if not full-blown polyester. So somebody who's worn it has leaned up against something that's picked it and pulled the threads. But what I wanted it for was this lace hanging down here. So what I'm going to be doing is, right here you can see where the lace has been sewn together on the side of the side seam, and it goes all the way around in one piece. So what I do when I come across something like this that I want to harvest, and that's just what I'm going to call it, is harvesting, because essentially that's what we're doing. I'm going to cut right up this seam on either side of the seam, right up to the top, and cut that little part out. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but on the inside, the shirt part has been sewn with a serger, and so it's a finished seam. But the lace has been sewn on top of that, and it's just got a simple little stitch right here. If I can get my seam ripper under it, and that's it. So if you start there and just go around with your seam ripper, you can just cut those threads and take it right off and get it in one long piece. Now obviously I'm not going to have you watch me do all of this. I just wanted to show you how I do it to keep stuff intact until I'm either ready to use it or until I'm ready to package it, whichever that I do. So so I'm going to pause the camera while I finish this, but ultimately you take a seam ripper, go under there, clip the seams. It'll give you probably an inch or so at a time, just pulling it apart, and then you just keep going around. And if you come across a place that where maybe it's been backstitched or something, then you'll have to put in a little bit more effort, but I can guarantee you that it's worth it to get a very nice piece of lace like this. I mean, I've already done that much just standing here talking, that you couldn't really buy in a store. I paid $1 for this blouse, and if it had buttons, then I'd be harvesting the buttons. And the next piece we do, it does have buttons on it, and they're not alabaster, what are they? Abalone, the seashell buttons, and I love those. And so, but what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pause the camera and I'm going to finish this, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like in one piece. So I'll be back shortly. Okay, I'm down to the last inch and a half or so, I suppose, and I thought I'd just let you see the end of it. I've got to turn backwards to what I was doing, so let me get that back, or my brain will be backwards and then I'll be lost for a second. So there we go. The shirt is now separated from the lace. Now, lace always has a right and a wrong side, even though it's hard to tell sometimes, but most of the time you can tell by the texture. If it has a pattern or anything like that, you'll be able to feel the texture more on the front than on the back. With this one, it would be super, super hard to tell, but this side is the front. So, let's measure it and see. Uh-oh, I just banged my light. Let's measure it and see how long it is. So we've got 1, 2, 3, so there's a yard. So it looks like it's going to be just a little over a yard and a third. Barely over, so we'll call that a yard and a third, which would be a yard and 12 inches or 48 inches. So, but look at this. Isn't it just beautiful? Let's see. No, this is the one we're going to be doing next, but I'll kind of hide the front where we'll be harvesting, but let me put it over here so you can get a better view of it. But look at that. I mean, these longest cords are 6.5 inches long. So, so this is something I would put in my store. I probably would cut it in half and sell it as 2 pieces. But if you are in a thrift store or some other type of secondhand store and you're looking for something a little bit different than what they sell on the roll or whatever at your local craft or fabric store, buying cheap clothing and harvesting the stuff off of it is a very good way to go. Now, let me move that to the side. Move, and I don't need the seam ripper anymore. This is just going to be scissors on this side. So, here is this piece. Now, obviously you can see right here why, let me pull it down, maybe you can't see. You can see here why somebody has donated it to the thrift store, because they've got some staining here, and I've washed this. That won't come off. Now here's the buttons I was telling you about. These are abalone shell buttons. You can tell by the glare on one side or the reflectiveness, but you can also tell on the back side So I suppose I will be using my seam ripper for just a minute. I have my buttons in, most of them are in like quart cannon jars, but I have a jar that it's a smaller jelly jar that's just got these type of buttons in them for whatever projects. Now, I'm not going to deal with this right now. I'm just going to cut it out and show you how I would do a piece of lace that is sewn on top of another part of the blouse, like this. So it's pretty straightforward, but see if I can keep this in shot because I know my camera is a little lower, I think, than normal. But here it's sewn together, so I would just come up and stay as close to that seam line as possible and come all the way up to the armpit like this. And basically you're just going to be cutting out the shape of whatever the shape it is. Some things have lace like right across the front, and right here is they put a little dart in here, so it might be that I cut this part off and use these parts myself, these small pieces. But lace like this is perfect for small clusters and all kinds of, decoration within a journal or ephemera for that matter. I mean, and again, this blouse, they were actually going to toss it, and I said, oh please, I'll give you $1 for it, and they said, oh, just take it on. So this was actually for free because of the stain. So yeah, that's you can't pass those up either. Okay, now I'm gonna come over here and go from the other side. Oops. Oh, there's a button on the sleeve. I didn't see that. I'll have to come back. I bet there's one on the other side. So yeah, I'm getting 5 buttons instead of 3. It must have a little thing in the sleeve to roll the sleeve up with. That's going to be my guess. Now the one good thing, I look for colors that are this peachy pink type color because that is very much a vintage theme color. And so this lace put into a tea wash or a light coffee wash would make it look very, give it a vintage look. So that's another thing to take into consideration. Whatever lace or fabric for that matter that you come across and you want to do a vintage project, just give it a bath in tea or coffee, and that will make a huge difference in the coloring for whatever project you might have. And now I'm not being super particular about the edges because the way it's sewn onto this fabric underneath. So, but we are almost done with this. But you can see here this staining, and I will deal with that in just a minute when I come around and meet where I came to on the other side, which is right here. Okay, so let's pull this out of the way. Now it does have a hem on the bottom. I usually leave the hems when I market these because it gives the person who gets it something to work with if they want to use it. So here's what I'm going to do with this one. Uh-oh, hit my light again. I'm not used to doing this particular thing on camera, and I have a bunch of clothes that I need to cut up and package. Okay, so I'm going to go right across through here like that. And I'm going to keep this for myself. And then I have this piece that already has the split from where the buttons came down, so I'm just going right down through here. If I can get my scissors to not go through the holes of the lace. And there we go. Now, we've got two pieces that are a reasonably straight rectangle. Let me do it this way, and that way it will fit better on the camera. So, the way I would measure this is I would stay above the hemline and see what we have. And I always measure from the shortest side. So here we've got 11 inches. And then the shortest side is also up here at the top, and we will call that 9 inches. So I would sell this as an 11 by 9, and it gives you a little bit extra. And the same with this one, because they were basically identical. So, that is our how you deconstruct clothing to use it to make something in a journal project. And you know, the more lace the better. I found a kimono a few weeks back, and it was a triple extra large, and it was like a mauve pink, and there's one place where the seam where the lace was, it's all lace, but there was a place where the lace had been sewn together, and it had the stitches had come undone, and I bought it for $3. So so that, you know, how many clusters can you make out of that? And it was floor length. I'm almost 5'3". I'm 5'2 3/4". And it's much longer than I am tall. It was for a tall person, I'm sure. So this one is being stick myself. Okay, so I've got 5 buttons and 2 pieces of lace to put in my store, and 2 pieces of lace for me to use. So I will see you in another video project very soon.